Oh, okay. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Alright, I am live. We are live here, you know. There's that. But here we are right now. We're gonna do a live read of chapter 5 of Alex T. Paul's Money Society in this few minutes. I'll turn down the game volume real quick. Oh, hold on, everyone. Give me a second. Alright, sorry everyone, I'm back. I had to answer a phone call real quick, so that was that. But yeah, we're gonna do a live read of chapter 5 by Alex T. Paul. By Alex T. Paul on Money and Society. But chapter 5 is oh, I fucked up, opened the wrong book. But yeah, we're doing chapter 5. So chapter 5 isn't that long as chapter 4. It's shorter. But be prepared for we're basically gonna be doing a sit down long read of this one. I don't have Civic here tonight because Civic is going to bed, and I think Icky is streaming right now, so Icky's probably not going to be in this here for this. Chapter 5 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 39 pages. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with this chapter, and hopefully we could get through this in one piece, without further ado, Chapter 5 of Money Society. This chapter is called Money and Society. 5.1, it's divided in two parts, 5.1 and 5.2. So 5.1 is titled Alienation and Freedom. Alright, so here we go. Let me post real quick on the Discord for this book club I'm in. Okay. Alright, here we go. We can trace the origins of money back to prehistory. In the absence of any written record, it would be an exaggeration to say that criticisms of money are as old as money itself. But at least since Greek antiquity, the critiques have followed money like a shadow. Aristotle, for instance, criticized the use of money for making more money rather than to simply facilitate goods exchange. The major book religions all condemn charging interest full stop, or at the very least, charging it on money lent to one's brethren. Mesopotamian debt jubilees, too, already contained an implicit critique of interest. Reflecting its own economic practices as well as pressure from changing circumstances, the medieval Christian church gradually revised and abandoned its dogmatically correct condemnation of the money business. Yet supposedly heretics and heretical movements from medieval mendicant orders to the early teachings of Martin Luther and Thomas Müntzer and 20th century libertarian theology again condemned the worship of money. The profit drive and the existence of finance for its own sake, despite the relatively marginal position of economic and especially monetary thinking and philosophy, critiques of money appear again and again throughout the history of philosophy. Perhaps unsurprisingly, secular critiques of money only flourished in the 19th century against the backdrop of the ever greater monetization and marketization of livelihoods and lifestyles, which had previously been lived in a traditional way and without the use of money. The universalization of the wage-labor relationships was emblematic for how ever greater numbers of people found themselves having to earn money in order to survive. Karl Marx was hardly the only critic of this transformation, but he was certainly among its most eloquent. A world in which, although perhaps not quite everything, certainly far too much was for sale struck him as twisted and distorted. And here's the little quotation or excerpt from that book, whatever, that they're quoting from Karl Marx. That which money can buy, am I myself the possessor of the money. The extent of the power of my money is the extent of my power. Thus, what I am and I am capable of is by no means determined by my individuality. I am ugly, but I can buy for myself the most beautiful of women. Therefore, I am not ugly. For the effect of ugliness, its deterrent power is nullified by money. I am bad, dishonest, unscrupulous, stupid, but money is honored, and hence its possessor. Money is a supreme good, therefore its possessor is good. Money besides saves me the trouble of being dishonest. I am therefore presumed honest. I am brainless, but money is the real brain of all things, and how then should its possessor be brainless? But only is it that money makes contradictions embrace. Money also alienates human beings from their humanity. It takes away from them that which makes them human, and subjugates them to an alien power, or rather a power that they have themselves created but have come to experience as alien. The essence of money is not in the first place that property is alienated in it, but that mediating activity or movement. The human social act by which man's products mutually complement one another is estranged from man and becomes a tribute of money, a material thing outside man. Instead of man himself being the mediator from man, man regards his will, his activity, and his relation to other men as a power independent of him and them. It is clear that this mediator now becomes a real god, for the mediator is the real power over what it mediates to me. A cult becomes an end in itself. For the young Marx, a human relation was a personal one in which parties involved exchange items or the products of their labor, not for the sake of acquiring similar objects in return, but in order to satisfy each other's needs. Marx held this, that and not using or consuming a product was humanity's primary and true desire. What Marx proposes here as a measure of humanity is not the often agnostic world of gift exchange, but apparently something more like a loving or caring relationship. In love, partners may find fulfillment in complementing and completing each other, and gifting themselves to each other. The same might even be true of friendship, but in the majority of relationships, people are necessarily somewhat less passionate and exclusive. This does not only apply to monetized societies in which others are ostensibly reduced to the status of animate objects or mere tools for which to obtain satisfaction. Money, I wish I had some, by the way. Playing some Warzone, so we'll be listening in. Oh, no problem, Spartan. Barely got started into this chapter, so this one's actually not that as hard to read as chapter 4 was. It had a little delay on the stream. I was updating a game, and then my coworker called me to fill me in that she won't be coming in tomorrow. So yeah, that fucks up my whole tomorrow. But anyways, so far what I read, it talked about how basically got into like how money was with society. That in theory, Aristotle believed that people didn't use money for exchange of goods, but to demonstrate power. Mesopotamians did it to gain interest. The church around medieval times did away with the whole backlog of using money to gain power and stuff. Now, right now, they just talked about Karl Marx's idealism of money, which, if you know about Karl Marx, he created Marxism, which it revolved in communism. But they went ahead and symbolized like how partners in love try to complete each other, which is not what money is trying to do. But money is a status quo to show like what kind of power you have, and basically it nullifies that if you have money and power, you have status, which therefore gets rid of the idea that you're ugly, because you're not ugly if you're powerful. Some bullshit like that. I have no idea what the fuck I just read. Anyway, let's get back to it. I just did 3 pages on my phone, and we got 36 more to go. So here we go. Pre-monetary societies, too, were far from idyllic, loving communities. Only in modern societies, well acquainted with the use of money, does the ideal of romantic lover rise to the fore. Moreover, on the whole, there is no evidence for modern, monetized societies as a whole being any less moral than traditional societies. The opposite may be even true, as only money allows markets to emerge from simple goods exchanges, as seen in section 1.1. Enabling man to build a world without conflict and mutual repression, to possess values, does acquisition and enjoyment by one person does not exclude that of another, but opens the door 1,000 times for him to acquire such values as well. Just as gift exchange enabled peace and the forging of alliances between collectives that were otherwise inimical to each other and their striving for self-assertion, so too does goods exchange as evidence of the great progress that mankind could have made. Basically, I was talking about like this part right here. Exchanging gifts enable peace as opposed and forging alliances between two countries, as opposed to them fighting for domination to control their goods and stuff. Enable the miracle of one person's interests being served by serving those of others. Of course, Duke's commerce depends on conditions that, on its own, it can never guarantee, while markets can be dysfunctional or even toxic, but would hardly meant that we should reject markets instead of merely regulating them. Notwithstanding these provisos, one can hardly deny that for the modern world, meaning for us, money has become something of a life-giving elixir that we need almost as much as we need air to breathe. Just consider to what extent one's ability to participate in the economy, and not just in the economy, depends on money. Consider too how the idea of rational choice, whether expressed narrowly in monetary terms or more broadly in terms of the endless comparative calculus of weighing alternative actions against each other, holds sway far beyond the arcane world of economic textbooks. Homo economics is not just a homunculus of some parts of economic theory, but often stands as the model of enlightened human agency. Neither has criticism of commodities and increasing commodification of new space abated since Marx or became outmoded. The organ trade and commercial surrogate motherhood are merely two examples of both the market's continually advancing logic and our unease with it. Nor has the issue, that is, the social phenomenon in the sense of a feeling experienced not just by some individuals, but by many of alienation, loss of control, or futility ever gone away. On the other side, there were and are voices, and especially arguments that emphasize money's liberating effects. The observation that ideal of romantic love is modern one already suggested this without necessarily dismissing the criticism that money can also create alienation. The author who tackled this ambivalent character of money as no one else has done is George Simmel. Section 3.1, drawn on Simmel, examined money's special fungibility and its consequent superiority over all conventional goods. It distinguished the material, social, and temporal dimensions of the use of money. From a material perspective, money can buy anything, whereas a good or commodity can normally only be sold for money. From a social perspective, money holders are free to choose from whom to buy any given thing. All that matters is finding someone selling with whatever they currently desire. Who the seller is or what kind of person they are is irrelevant. From a temporal perspective, beyond satisfying concrete, urgent needs, money holders can gain freedom from future want through their possession of future purchasing power. Evidently, the expanded choices afforded to money holders, who can buy anything at any point in time from anyone, give them freedom. This freedom may, of course, also be experienced as overwhelming, as some choices may feel unimportant, pointless, or empty. Still, money holders are freer and less subject to control by others, at least until they have been manipulated or tempted by advertising or special offers into buying one particular product instead of another. Even then, the choice of which temptation to give in to remains theirs. I would like to add to these three dimensions a fourth one, the dimension of the subject, that is, of the self. I will use it, on the other hand, to unpack money's potential for alienation, its corrupting side, and on the other hand, to contrast this again, though in somewhat different way, with its promise of freedom, that is, the societal gains of differentiation that it enables. Regarding the social dimensions, money or market interaction, which for our purposes is the same, makes ego uninterested in his partner in interaction, alter for his own sake. He merely cares about him insofar as he is the private owner of a good that ego desires. Fundamentally, ego and alter are not connected by any real social relationship. They merely encounter one another for the sole purpose of trading money for a thing. It is possible, and outside of Europe and North America even common, for buyers and sellers to negotiate and haggle, and in the process to present themselves as people with stories about how obliged, entitled, or even sorry they are to be asking or offering what they are. And yet, particularly in advanced market economies, in supermarkets or department stores, silent trade is the norm. The amount specified on the price tag is paid at the checkout without comment, and quite often even without any verbal exchange at all. The buyer wants to buy something, but not to be bound or bothered in any way. The advantages are evident. Ego has no need to hide his interest and can assume that alter, if he haggles or seeks to intrigate himself, is only pursuing his own best interest. Ego's purchase does not depend on alter liking him or regarding him as a worthy buyer. For this reason, although his welfare depends on the service of an incalculable number of suppliers who are unknown to him, ranging from the postman to medical specialists, ego is free to choose and shape his own social relationships as he sees fit. He can, for instance, pursue pure love instead of having to adulterate his intimate relationships with economic or family political considerations. Although even money can never make people fully independent from others, to the contrary, it increases their dependency by promoting specialization. It does free them from situations in which they have no choice about whom they associate with. The flip side is that as the market expands into spaces that were once outside its ambit, such as the university, The social relations that, although they may restrict freedom, also create stability and purposes, such as those between lecturers and their students, become like buyer-seller relationships in which costs and benefits are continually calculated, which can be solved at any time. Markets are inherently premised on the freedom of agents to choose, and as they become more universal, flexibility and unwillingness to enter into fixed relations is increasingly rewarded, while the willingness and ability to make commitments is no longer practiced. As regards the temporal dimension, using money simultaneously devalues the present and magnifies the future, enabling more extensive planning. Money itself cannot be consumed and gives no immediate pleasure. It thus dampens immediate pleasure for the sake of deferred enjoyment. Money and miserliness have an innate affinity, as do money and avarice, insofar as both elevate the sheer potential to do something or enjoy something over the actual thing itself. This is not necessarily harmful, because foregoing consumption means deferring gratification, which is an individual as well as a civilizational virtue. Moreover, because having money makes the future more accessible and tangible, in the sense of assuring us today our ability to act and choose tomorrow, although it is still unknown or unknowable what tomorrow's choices will be, a moneyed person is likelier to develop the foresight that living in a moneyed society requires. Thanks for explaining it for me, man. So I haven't been chatting, things have been making sense. So also that sucks about your goal. Yeah, I know, it sucks as hell. So far what I read, right now is that he created a fourth perspective of money, and that fourth perspective involves, like, he compares it to like university, whereas he talked about how it's common in Europe and North America for people to haggle, but at the same time there's also one where you walk in to buy a certain outfit and there's a price already on there and that's what you're expected to pay. So basically there's already like an agreement there. There's already an agreement that you agree to pay this price for that without any verbal negotiation or anything. It's like, this is what you're going to pay, this is what I expect you to pay. And they also talked about like how university, like, students sit there, listen to the lecture of the professor, and then they go home and then do the assignment or some bullshit. I don't know. But yeah, that was like 4 pages I read. I'm gonna try my best to explain this. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna know exactly what to explain here. But let's continue with this. Alright, so to repeat what was said above, only where money is in use does specialization becomes possible. As a result, the so-called chains of mutual dependence grow longer. That is, the reciprocal dependence not as so much of individuals or as of professionals and specialists. Under these circumstances, anyone who wants to not merely react but also act and shape things will need to keep their eye on the ball. It is money that teaches us how to do this. So basically, like, when they talked about like university and lectures, it's talking about like the specialization that you pay for. The students are the customers, and they pay for the specialization of the lecturer giving them the information what they need to do, like in the class. So like, they're dependent on that lecturer to give them the knowledge that they need to get their degree in some bullshit. Because the lecturer is the professional or the specialist in this case. By referring to a dimension of the subject or the self, I refer to the relationship that a person has with him or herself. Thanks to our self-awareness, that is, our ability to make ourselves the object of our own consciousness and contemplation, humans have a malleable relationship not just with other people and with the world of things, but also especially with ourselves. And this relationship can hardly remain unaffected or untainted by whether or not we are acquainted with money, because money works as a sort of wish machine. As much as it assuages uncertainty when it is held and helps us maintain our ability to act in the face of the unforeseen, it also always brings to mind the possibilities of spending it, because money can buy almost everything. For anyone who spends any time thinking about how to spend it and new options will always necessarily be coming into view. It spurs us to think about what is not there or not yet real. It stimulates the imagination. In this way, it also stimulates desire. It unfetters it from the simpler desire fulfilling those types of needs that could, at least for a time, be satisfied, and instead lets desire grow into an abstract craving for the enjoyment of other things, and thus the enjoyment of more. Avarice is a trait found across cultures, yet money stimulates it in peculiar ways. The wanting forever more of avarice, which itself is joyless, but which the greedy person nonetheless rapaciously enjoys, meets its match in money's capacity to embody the possibility of always getting more. Yet, paradoxically, money also allows those who possess it to make their wishes much clearer and more precise, to be free to choose exactly what they, and perhaps only they, want. Whoever has money can, by means of it, distinguish themselves from others. This means that money individualizes, but not just that. Money might not make us happy, but insofar as happiness is an utterly subjective thing, and any judgment about what makes someone happy can only ever be made by that person. The nearly endless possibilities opened up by money could very well contribute to an individual's pursuit of happiness. Notwithstanding the fact that those who most deserve happiness may often have the least money, it remains true that nothing can encapsulate the subjectivity of individual happiness as well as money. Okay, so it's true that money doesn't always mean happiness, but that they need money, and I guess money, they still need some form of money to find that happiness in some way, I guess. Hey Jenny, I see you there in chat. I'm reading this book called Money and Society by Alex D. Paul. It's for this book club that we're doing in Emmy's stream on her community nights. So right now on the community nights we're doing a community book club. So just for the record, I kind of get what this is talking about, and at the same time I'm reading this off my phone, so I don't have the options to go back and highlight shit as well. And on my phone there's about 39 pages in this chapter, and so far I think I've only read like fucking 7 pages. So I'm trying to get through this so that way it's not gonna be like 2 hours of fucking pain like it was last week when I read chapter 4, which chapter 4 was like 55 pages. And the reason why it took me so long because I would pause, go into chat, and like tell stories about how I would get into drunk bar fights and shit a couple of years ago. Yeah. Alright, continuing on with this freaking chapter. Finally, in its material dimension, money has long been accused of having such an alienating, corrupting influence that it obliterates the unique qualities that make things special. Just as in its social dimension, it deprives people of their individual personhood. Those who truly experience the world as nothing but an immense accumulation of commodities, and there is no doubt that such people exist, will see that all its diversity as mere quantitative differences in exchange values, expressed in terms I just lost my fucking terms of money. Thus, the monetary perspective on, or rather the factual marketization of things, flattens them or renders them equivalent in 2 ways. First, even though exorbitant prices may be paid for them, such uniquely precious objects as works of art, the trade in which our societies do not generally prescribe or condemn, can nonetheless be reduced to a common denominator with anything else that can be bought. Whether cereals or cigarettes, simply by virtue of having been valued in monetary terms, money trivializes. Second, it suggests comparability even where comparisons would be inadmissible or absurd. that is between that cannot, should, or should not be compared. Commercial surrogacy and the organ trade mentioned above, or prostitution, arouse so much contempt because in these cases, something that cannot or should not have a price, namely life and sexuality, is given one. Money corrupts. So basically, what I just fucking read is that sex work is corruption of money, and money trivializes the value of in a monetary society, I guess. I don't fucking know what I read. I just understand the last part that if you're paying for sex, you're basically on the black market. So if you go to those places where they give you a massage and you fuck the masseuse, you're basically paying you're paying for illegal goods or some bullshit. That's what I think I read. Alright, let's continue on with the pain. But money's liberating or even civilizing side allows for things to be made neutral, precisely through their having a price. The fact of the Quran being for sale in the bookshop by no means makes it less holy to the believer. Generally speaking, to put a price on something is not necessarily to deny or destroy its intrinsic value, but rather, at least initially, to apply a standard of comparison that allows actors with profoundly different conceptions of value to nonetheless exchange with each other. So basically, if the Quran is sacred to those who, in that religious culture, and the Bible is sacred to people in Christianity, those who don't see it sacred can still have access to it. That's what it's basically. That summed that up. Precisely for our multicultural societies, therefore, the market is a suitable, if not utterly indispensable, mechanism of coordination because it relativizes everything. A similar, though earlier, civilizing breakthrough was a replacement of revenge and the lex talionis, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, with monetary punishments or monetary compensations to be precise, because initially payments were made to the aggrieved party, only later to the state or monopolist of violence. And this remains true, or perhaps is becoming true again, as offenders are not only sentenced to prison terms, but increasingly also made to pay their victims monetary compensation. Of course, no payment can ever really replace a lost heirloom or good health, but it can provide some compensation where otherwise only very crude equivalents or no equivalents at all is possible. Perhaps one might say that whenever people use money, there is always a risk of everything, or at least far too much, being measured against a singular yardstick. But at the same time, people practice thinking in terms of equivalence and relativity. Indeed, do we not first have to compare in order to realize that a comparison is impossible? Basically, it said that this paragraph I read was that money is also a way to compensate for shit happening to you. Like, say if you break the law, you have to pay a ticket for breaking that rule, which is you paying for a crime. Or let's say like you get assaulted, whatever, and you take that person that assaulted you, take them to court. They do jail time and have to pay out. They gotta work to pay off the court fees and shit. You know, like you don't get back what you lost, but in a way, them paying for the crime or having to pay back like alimony or something is a way to compensate for whatever you lost or the pain you suffered with those assholes. Okay, I'm here to be put to sleep. Hey, Rain, welcome. I was actually gonna read this on City Skylines tonight, but I have a fucking 5 gigabyte update on that bullshit. So instead of reading classical music, we're back here at Final Fantasy VIII. Just picture me being Squall, because I do own a pair of black harness boots. I wear black pants all the time, and I do wear black jackets. You're just going through an awkward phase from 12 to 29. Yeah. Anyway, back to this fucking chapter of pain and misery. I think I got like 20 more pages to go through, or 20 something pages. But yeah, welcome everyone. Let's try to put Rain to sleep because she has to work tomorrow. Okay. Faced with this ambivalence between money's alienating and liberating properties, between how it corrupts and blurs boundaries and how it differentiates and makes us sensitive to difference, it is hardly appropriate to ask whether we ought to rid ourselves of it, even assuming that it is possible. Rather, not least in light of the pathologies of ever greater marketization in recent decades, we ought to ask exactly where we, as a society or as a political system that ought ideally to be controlled by citizens, might draw the line and limit marketization. There is, of course, as we shall see in section 5.2, which is like fucking 22 pages, a constant pressure to economicize that emanates from the economic system and impinges on other parts of society. An innate systematic tendency for ever new spaces to be incorporated into the capital accumulation process. But as the ongoing and, in all likelihood, eternal social and moral political struggles over the decommodification of human labor, or of the family and of the biological foundations of our very existence show, this hardly makes it inconceivable or impossible for us to define spaces that should remain outside the market. I have no idea what the fuck I just read. All I know is that the word inconceivable is there, and it makes me think of The Princess Bride with that one fucker, Vizzini, going, "Inconceivable!" And Andre the Giant going, "Anybody want a peanut?" Alright, in this, we are no different from the TIV, see section 2.1, or for that matter, from any other society we know about through ethnography or history. We do have a hierarchical, sphere differentiated economy with zones of different relative monetization separated and kept separate from one another. Whether it is a question of trafficking guns and narcotics or selling fruits and vegetables on the street, different markets are subject to different rules. But above all, we distinguish between different social spheres in which different criteria of valuation are supposed to apply. In politics, the family, science, or sports, it is not those who have the most money who are held to have the right to make decisions, although in practice sometimes they do, but voters acting on their beliefs and interests. Family members feeling affection and solidarity, researchers weighing up findings and arguments, and sports people challenging one another in fair competitions. Despite the universally applicability of money as a standard of value, we operate as sociological systems theory maintains with multiple codes. We operate in different spheres of justice, even though we know that buying favorable judicial verdicts is possible. Whether one wants it, accepts it, or simply knows what more powerful actors can do, this is in itself no reason to declare the norm in much the same way as already highlighted by example of the Quran, a norm that is supposedly incommensurable with money by virtue of being normatively declared to be incommensurable. It's hardly rendered invalid by simply putting a price on a thing that has no price. That was one fucking long ass sentence. The invention and widespread social acceptance of life insurance, to take another example, has not led us to think of life as worth only as much as an insurance company is contractually obliged to pay in the event of its loss. And it is not as if it is only the domain of money and we abstract away from everything that does not fit with its form of valuation. The logic governing other social spheres can also ignore a range of other values that may be attached to something. The criminal justice system, for instance, will judge a criminal for stealing a piece of art without rendering any judgment on the artwork's aesthetic value. while the political will of the majority does not determine what the political sciences do. Still, it would be odd to deny that the dynamics of the economic system tend to undermine the distinctions between other spheres of value and encroach upon those spheres, or to deny that this autonomy of social subsystems has always been as such as a postulate as a fact. It does appear to be the case that we are living in an era in which money is colonizing ever greater parts of the life world. On the other hand, anyone who offers such a diagnosis cannot shut their eyes to the fact that, if not money itself, then at least the forms of social interaction enabled by it have made a functionally differentiated society possible in the first place. In other words, the ambivalence of money reflected in the intertwining and mutual contingency of alienation with liberation reappears at the level of social structure. A monetary economy is as much a precondition for modern society's existence as it is an inherent, innate, and by no means coincidental threat to it. This is the topic of section 5.2, and we just made it section 5.2. Hey, Joe Heather 155180, fuck off. Oh, fuck. That's like the 5th ban I've done. Fuck that bot. Alright, so we made it to section 5.2. So this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 24 fucking pages. God damn it. Like, I'm about ready to be like, one of these fuckers in the book club could read their shit on stream. Yes, Ray, you want to be a famous bagel. Zach Stone is gonna be famous. You know who else is gonna be famous? That one motherfucker who invented I don't know, there's some asshole supposed to invent something this year that's supposed to like change the world. And I hope it's the dickhead who I hope this dickhead is the person who invents the hover chair. Because I want my fucking hover chair already. Alright, money and functional differentiation, section 5.2. 24 more pages of pain. So if you guys need to go to sleep or some shit, just listen. I'm going to read 24 pages and try to put your ass to sleep as best as I can. Oh god, fuck me. There are 2 types of answers to the question of what kind of society we live in. The first type of answer is give my sociological diagnosis of the present, by authors who often use the titles of their workers to give society a label. For example, Risk Society, Multi-Option Society, Adventure Society, Knowledge Society, Externalization Society, or Society of Disappearance. The list could easily be extended, but social change, even in modern societies, where in historical terms transformations has been extraordinarily rapid, at least since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, is nowhere near rapid enough to make possible the chronological alignment of all of these diagnoses. Most of them could not plausibly be reconciled with one another, or at least not without undermining their key claims. However, the majority of these authors make no claim even to describe in its entirety all of modern, Western, or Western-influenced society. They merely aim to highlight particular features or trends that have been important in, say, the latter half of the 20th century, such as the increasing salience of imagining and managing risk or acquiring and processing knowledge. The second type of answer to the question of what kind of society we live in compromises as a smaller set of proposals, which are both much more general and much more widely applicable than those in the first group, but which are also unnecessarily less precise. Basically, the first group is a bunch of big ass words that we don't understand, or they give us fucking titles that are more precise. And the second one is something we grasp more, but it's more or less precise of what our society is. Fuck this book. They focus not on trends observed over the course of a few years or decades, but rather on the basic features of modern society as it has emerged since the Middle Ages. With an emphasis on the French Revolution and the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, fundamentally, this second group comprises two subgroups or theoretical strands: theories of new social inequality and theories of social differentiation. Marxism exemplifies the first strand, sociological system theory the second. Theories of social inequality, as the name implies, make inequalities between large social groups such as wage earners and capital owners central to their understanding of society, particularly in the modern age. Basically, this one talks about new money and old money and the common man. That's what I think. Different dimensions of inequality can be parsed out: unequal ownership of the means of production, income, education, and occupation, as well as other important signifiers of social class or stratum. But in essence, in these theories, despite formal freedom and equal citizenship, it is also always the persistently unequal life chances between different groups that shape the real world. Zach Stone is giving face. Don't fuck the book. Paper cuts out. Ella Rain. I don't think anyone will be doing that. Well, maybe. I wouldn't put it past some people. Rain, you're still in voice chat. Hey, fuck. That's hilarious. I wish I was in a voice chat so I could hear what the hell Rain is talking about. Wait, can I? Yeah, she's still in the voice chat, like talking to herself. Alright. Theories of social differentiation, on the other hand, do not deny the reality of social inequality, such as theories of social inequality do not. Just as theories of social inequality do not deny social differentiation, but they consider differences in the material or horizontal dimension to be more important than those of the social or vertical dimension. Their focus is on the process and outcomes of differentiation. The differentiation of domain-specific logics of action, value spheres, or social subsystems such as religion, political science, and economics. Within each of these spheres, actors are guided by sphere-specific values, differentiation principles, or codes. In the sciences, for instance, what matters is knowledge and acquisition, and what counts is to differentiate the true from the false. In politics, what matters is to shape the conditions under which collectives of people live, and what counts is power. Acquiring or gaining knowledge or power are, however, fundamentally different programs. They require different approaches, such as making electoral promises or appealing to sentiments of social justice in the political system, or different theories and methods in the scientific system. This does not mean that individual actors cannot engage in both the political and scientific systems. On the contrary, all of us, no matter who we are or what we do, are at least occasionally placed in different action contexts or systems. For example, as voters, churchgoers, partners in marriage, or consumers, we do not, as a whole person, ever belong to just one subsystem. Members of particular classes or strata are also, say, members of sports club or passionate fans of classical music. Yet theories of social inequality assume that not just their economic interests, but also their political orientations and even their tastes are ultimately determined by their class position, and thus by factors they are sociologically more or less objective and objectifiable. Nonetheless, due to the multidimensional nature of social inequality, the growing diversity of lifestyles, and the at least occasional process of mass upward or downward social mobility, to simply equate actors' social situations with their identity has become increasingly problematic. Okay. Hey, okay, if you feel like any need to, like, do. If you feel the need to go and read this chapter out loud, feel free to continue. Okay, for this reason alone, theories of social differentiation strike me as reflecting the realities of modern society better than theories of social inequality do. Only by taking seriously the variety, inconsistency, on compartmentalization of action orientations which intersect within individuals are even responsible for really making them individuals in the first place. Can we identify the modern condition, or at least come closer than we would be, by attempting to lump a plurality of individuals together into uniform classes, strata, life circumstances, or milieux? In addition, social inequality can also be expressed in terms of social differentiation, whereas social inequality only over and sufficiently recognizes differentiation. Moreover, theories of social differentiation are prudent and judicious where it comes to scandalizing their objects or study than are most theories of social inequality. Social inequality always figures as a problem, and equality is always the aim. There are certainly good reasons for thinking in such a way, but these are political rather than scientific. Social differentiation, by contrast, is first and foremost a fact. One could argue about how, for example, the family, the world of work ought to be separated. But hardly anyone would claim that the distinction should be abolished and the family be professionalized, or the world of work made more familial. For this reason alone, we may take the system theoretical characterization of modern societies as functionally differentiated as broadly correct. However, system theory, or at least Nicholas Luhmann and following him, most of his contemporary revivalists, is wrong to possess the existence of an inherent equality or equal rank among the different subsystems, each of which specializes in the fulfillment of certain societal functions, and this to claim that their hierarchy makes it impossible for one part of the social system to ever subordinate another. It would, of course, be infeasible to measure their relative importance on any objective scale. But I lost my pick. This does not make it impossible. And here again, having some Marxist or inequality theoretical consciousness helps to acknowledge the economic system's factual primacy over others. In fact, this means nothing more or less than recognizing and admitting that our contemporary functionally differentiated society is a capitalist one. That was one big ass sentence. Fuck that. In what follows, we will see first how money has played an essential role in the process of functional differentiation that constituted modern societies, and second, that the money medium, respectively the economic system, has come to structurally dominate the reproduction or self-preservation of functionally differentiated societies. Regarding the role of money in the emergence of functionally differentiated societies, the separating out of an economic sphere with its own logic needs to be distinguished from the differentiation of subsystems. More generally, as we have already seen throughout this book, well-developed anonymous markets would be unthinkable without money to act as a medium. This insight can be developed further with reference to Karl Polanyi's work on economic history. Polanyi argued that for the emergence of a self-regulating market obeying the laws of supply and demand, as found in Western and Central Europe since the 18th and 19th centuries, a preceding or at least concurrent transformation of the factors of production, labor, land, and money into commodities was essential. Without labor, land, and money being for sale or exchangeable against each other, not only would the market principle not have been able to extend into key areas Neither would the economic and occupational specialization that goes hand in hand with the development of markets have been possible. For this very reason, the liberation of the peasantry, which was set in motion across Europe between the 17th and 19th centuries, was paramount. On the one hand, the peasants were liberated from the feudal duties that they owed to landlords. Whatever they earned belonged fully to them. On the other hand, they often had to acquire land to work from landlords, usually nobles who were compensated for having to release their peasants into economic freedom by acquiring the right to subdivide and sell the land. Just like any other property, most newly freed peasants lacked the capital to buy land from their former masters, so many became wage earners or owned farmsteads, now managed as agricultural enterprises by the old lords and new entrepreneurs. What once had been a personal, unchangeable, and as a general rule, highly asymmetrical relationship between landlord and villein given way to a voluntary employment relation that the now formerly equal parties entered into. Many peasants became doubly free wage laborers, free from personal dependency but also free from owning any land or mere general means of production. Transformation into wage labor was not, however, merely the fate of large parts of the rural population. It was also a necessary condition for industrial manufacturing to be able to employ those workers who were no longer needed in agricultural production. The burgeoning industrial sector, in turn, could also be financed from capital that was released from feudal land, which had previously not been saleable. The conversion of old estates into new real estate thus not only opened up more investment opportunities but also mobilized more money. Many a noble landowner tried his hand at being a bourgeois investor. Basically, what this summed up to. Hey Luna, it's my favorite night owl. What's up, random person? How you doing? Basically, what I read so far. The fuck did I just read? Oh yeah. People who owned land had slaves working on the lands or had workers that were generally slaves, aka peasants. After some time, when they earned their freedom, whatever, blah blah blah. To compensate for the amount of land they owned that they had the slaves work on, the landowners had to sell that part of land to make the land be able to be purchasable. Well, the fuckers who earned their freedom don't have a fucking job or money to buy that land, so they became wage earners in a way of like, now they have to fucking work to earn money to buy their land, or work in the manufacturing industry as wage earners to earn the money to move up in society. Basically, what I just read was like, hey, you're no longer a slave. Welcome to minimum wage, fucker. I think. You read blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's what I read. Fuck. How many more fucking pages do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 more pages. God damn it. Yeah, and I lost what the fuck I just read. Fuck. Oh, here we go. I found the page. Don't worry, Rain. I'm lost too. I hope Spartan's listening, because this is his way of reading the book. Well, his way of like being ready for the book club by reading the book. Before anyone gives me shit about the low quality of my stream, just know that I'm streaming off my Xbox, and that's the only way I've been streaming. I'm trying to save up for a gaming laptop. I don't want to sign up for an Amazon card, because I know the Prime deals are right now on like one of the gaming laptops that I've been interested in getting is an Omen, and it's $1,300 right now. And with the Prime deals, I could spend the next year paying off 90. I think it's like $95 or $86 a month, and I should have that bitch paid off within a year. But yeah, basically my goal right now is to get it, save up for a gaming laptop so I can use that to stream off of. And then I'm also gonna upgrade the fucking internet from AT&T to Spectrum because AT&T sucks fucking ass. Like, oh shit. Yeah, AT&T sucks ass, so I'm gonna switch it to Spectrum eventually. Sorry about that. I fucking pushed the wrong fucking button. Almost ended the stream. But yeah, I lost the page I was on, so give me a fucking second and we'll be there. Okay. Still, the sale of land alone could not have satisfied the Industrial Revolution's sheer hunger for capital. From the perspective of economic history, the 19th century was not just a century of the mass emancipation of the peasantry, but also the widespread emergence of stock corporations and stock exchanges. Neither was really new. They had a prehistory dating back to the late Middle Ages, but in the 19th century they turned from marginal operations relevant only to the merchant community into institutions for financing a revolutionary social transformation. Stock companies bundled smaller investments into volumes that enabled, for instance, an entire continent to be crisscrossed by railways. Stock exchanges made it possible to combine investments with liquidity. Share certificates in a railway company could, in principle, be sold at any time, and this helped to attract more risk-conscious investors to the financing of businesses. But as important as the democratization of financial markets was to be the financing of the Industrial Revolution, the possibilities for making loans and for private book money creation that the 19th century opened up were not even more crucial. Here and not in the flourishing of stock exchanges and corporations was where the real transformation of money into a commodity took place. By issuing loans denominated in government money but not covered by equivalent reserves in government issued money, banks became capable of making the types of investments such as massive as they are risky are necessary for our financier carrying out of new combinations to revolutionize entire product ranges, trades, consumption partners, and even, or especially, the technological conditions of production. Strictly speaking, every investment needs prior financing, because only the anticipated future proceeds can cover the fixed expenditures already incurred for material inputs and labor, and finally create a profit, which, after all, is the raison d'etre of the investing. Basically, banks won't issue a loan without collateral, without any banks won't give you financial banking without you showing them that you're gonna make money, and that their financial backing isn't gonna be considered a loss for them. Okay, let's see here. Private commercial loans and investment loans are even older instruments of financing than corporations and stock exchanges. The marriage of state money with private banking, which was crucial for the acceptance and spread of loans between private parties, took place in the 17th and 18th centuries. The compromise struck by the English crown, which needed loans with the private English financiers, who gained the privilege to collectively issue a national currency backed by guarantee of His Majesty's tax revenues from across the empire, was a groundbreaking innovation. In this way, the commodification of money preceded that of labor and land, and the major financial revolution took place, or at least a century before the Industrial Revolution. It was the normalization of the wage-labor relationship and the technological breakthroughs made of the 19th century that finally made use of the capital that, structurally speaking, already lay, leading to a universalization of the market. Of course, this only explains how an autonomous money-based market could first come into being. Money also played an indirect but essential role in the differentiation of other subsystems. The key word is organization. Organization are a special form of social coordination. To simplify, we may say they are a technique for using hierarchically arranged divisions of labor to attain goals specified by their leadership. But we also note that, first, the leaders of any organization cannot simply issue commands since they depend on their subordinates following them, without subverting or distorting the directions to too great an extent. And second, that directives is too great an extent. And second, that organizational goals are often vague and indeterminate, must be adaptable in face of changing environmental conditions. Hence, defining organizations by their particular purpose and hierarchy is insufficient. A third important criterion for organization is therefore memberships. Membership means that limited by certain stipulations, which in turn may be fairly indeterminate and malleable, such as a contract of employment or a party manifesto, individuals carry out instructions and tasks specified by their immediate superiors or by the organization managers that may even remain unspecified until the time comes. Anyone who joins a sport team, for instance, but shows no interest in the team winning, will probably be kicked off. The game plan, the training strategy, and each player's position and role is decided by the coach, not by the players themselves. Organizational membership entails a kind of general obedience within the framework of formal rules of membership. Okay, so if they didn't throw in that fucking sports analogy, I would not have fucking grasped what the fuck I just read. Good night, Ilark and Torque. This was giving me feelings. Hey, good night, Rai. But yeah, so basically, when they talked about a membership society, they're basically just talking about like the sports team. You're part of this club. You're a member of this club. You're expected to follow the direction of the coach and play the role that you play on the team. So, if you're part of a football team, the head coach tells you're gonna have to listen to the head coach, who barks off orders to the offensive coach and the defense coach. And on that end, you're basically part of the offense or defense, and you're assigned a certain role. Defense, you're either a linebacker, a guard, a tight end, or if you're on offense, you're basically center, quarterback, running back, tailback, one of the receivers, a couple of the linemen. And your job is to play that role and follow the coach's orders, or you're fucked. You're fucked and you're gonna be kicked off the team. I think that's what I read, or that's what I got off it. All shrimp and bagels must rise to face the challenge. Yeah, true. I'm gonna get a glass of water real quick, because I'm out of fucking beverages to drink. So, be right back. I'm gonna take a 5-minute break. Alright, I'm back. Alright, okay. And I fucking lost the page I was on again. Give me a second. Let me find that fucking page again. Found it. Alright, so bear with me. We got maybe like 14 more pages to go. Here we go. Wherever there are membership rules, and strictly speaking, one can only ever really speak of memberships where there are such rules. There is a gap that needs to be bridged between the motivations of the members or aspiring members and the aims of their organization. An organization is flexible to the extent that it succeeds in getting its members to carry out different performances, placing different demands on them as the circumstances require. Organizations are thus able to transform and to adapt without immediately losing their identity or changing their overall purpose. Take, for instance, the history of a corporation such as Nokia, which began as a rubber boot manufacturer and evolved into a telecommunications equipment producer. I didn't fucking know they made boots in the past. Huh. Okay. Fuck Nokia, by the way. Or take the history of many centre-left parties, which began as revolutionary movements and eventually became pillars of the state, such as France's Socialist Party or Germany's Social Democrats, as well as, to a lesser extent, UK's Labour Party. Such stories are hardly uncommon, and one might even go so far as to say that the specialization and focus of organizations on objectives such as profit companies or political power parties stem from their relative openness in the sense of their willingness to adapt to the vicissitudes of economic political changes. Generally speaking, organizations are what enabled and drove the differentiation of society into functionally specialized subsystems. Of course, the economy consists not just of companies and trade unions and associations, politics not just of political parties, organized sports not just of clubs, the legal system not just of courts, and so on. But none of these subsystems could ever survive without these organizations bringing together people who are concerned with particular issues such as the supply of goods or taking collectively binding decisions. Without membership-based organizations, there could be no such thing as a functionally differentiated society. So basically what they're saying is that we need for a society to be differentiated, to have multiple societies, subgroups inside, there needs to be a membership-based organizations. However, such organizations cannot exist without money. There are two reasons for this. First, they can pursue their particular goal orientations and make corresponding demands on other members only if their other needs, the needs of the organization and those of the members, can't be satisfied by means of money and the market. Only when organizations and their members can rely on being able to buy what they need in order to survive can they fully focus on one objective. Organizations must be able to source materials and acquire property rights and the services that they need in order to in turn produce output, such as legal judgments, healthcare, knowledge. This also enables at least those organizations whose purpose is to perform work, those which tell their members what to do, in contrast to interest-based organizations in which members associate around a common interest, to recruit their members as wage workers on the labor market. Second, money not only motivates wage laborers in the broadcast sense of the word to work by forcing them to take up work as they are destitute or by enticing them if they are sought after specialists, but also and more fundamentally enables organizations to separate membership motivation from organizational purpose, which is indispensable for the formation and spread of organizations. Because I am paid and can use my salary to do anything, at least anything my salary can afford, I need not care about what the organization is using me for. As long as their members are paid sufficiently well, organizations have no need to rely on those members doing anything for its own sake, for their own reason, or simply out of the goodness of their hearts. In reality, of course, most people who can afford to do so will try to find jobs that not only provide financial compensation, but also suit their inclinations and abilities that are even fulfilling. The vast majority of academics, for instance, can be assumed to do their job for reasons other than financial gain. Many do it out or of something that, like love or truth. Love of truth, or perhaps somewhat less dramatically, on the account of the joy of acquiring and spreading knowledge. The prestige and recognition of their peers that accompanies the discovery of anything new, no doubt, matters as well. Work organizations too depend upon acknowledging their members' interests, just as internet-based organizations, above a certain size, can no longer rely on their members' passion for volunteering, but still compensate them, usually with money. Still, money is an essential extra organizational precondition for the formation of organizations, which in turn is a precondition for the emergence of functionally differentiated societies. Fuck me. How many more pages do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh wait, 9 more pages. 9 more pages, everyone. 9 more fucking pages. And fucking lost the last pages. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright. 9 more pages of pain. Let's see if we can get speed through this. And I can stop fucking checking on chat. Alright. These societies depend on money, both for their emergence and for their substance. The primacy of the economic system over other subsystems is especially evident where they encounter one another outright. There are 3 aspects that I would like to highlight, or rather 3 arguments that I would like to present to support of this thesis. First of all, other subsystems need funds in order to fulfill their functions. In essence, that this is just another more general way of stating that organizations need raw materials, particularly labor, in order to produce output. For this, they need money, and usually more than they could get from selling their services. In fact, many of the services they provide are not even for sale, or at least they should not be. Political decisions, scientific discoveries, judicial verdicts, works of art, all of these cost money, and insofar as the modern ideal of romantic love presupposes lovers being capable of independence, even declarations of love, say by giving flowers or inviting one's love interest to dinner, cost money. But neither does their quality hinge on the amount of money that went into generating them, nor can they themselves be monetized. Universities and hospitals are expensive to run, and even they churn out patients on charges for treatment. They usually still generate deficits and require some form of subsidy. Laws and regulations such as zoning plans may have far-reaching economic consequences, but no specific price. Paintings can be sold for millions of pounds or dollars, but their aesthetic value scarcely depends on their material value. Even truth and love may cost money, but cannot be bought with it. No subsystem, except the economic one, could reproduce itself and perform the services expected of it without money generated outside flowing into it. Of course, the economic system also dependable on the subsystems doing their job, such as the legal system for jurisprudence. Likewise, the healthcare system depends on science, which in turn depends on the educational system. It is precisely these multiple, often mutual interdependencies that have motivated arguments about the systems being hierarchical or co-equal, but these claims blur the difference between this general monetary dependency of all subsystems and the point-specific variable intercoupling of the other subsystems. As indispensable as the law may be for almost all aspects of modern society, unlike money, the law is not constantly applied in the education system, science, or marital relations. It only is called upon to act in cases of disruption. The same applies to scientific expertise. Undoubtedly, the results of research are important for politics, the economy, and even sports. The production of goods and services can be improved with the help of science, as can collective decision making, sporting achievements, and so on. But unlike money, science is not indispensably here. Many leading proponents of system theory refuse to recognize this difference between systems, although Luhmann himself at least gave the idea of the primacy of the economic system some thought. This may even be something we normatively want to endorse, but to deny the dominance of the economy over society simply rings false, empirically speaking. This refusal is mirrored in the problematic equivalence claim for the different symbolically generalized communication media such as power, love, truth, and money. Brings us to my second argument. Although comparisons between money and language go far back, the idea of conceptualizing power and influence as special languages analogous to money or a symbolically generalized interaction media comes from Talcott Parsons. Money and power and influence each enable or simplify particular chains of action. Someone who pays money wants to acquire something from someone rather than to convince them. Those who exercise power can persuade others to do specific things, even without having to pay anything. To influence others is to make one's motives their own. These media are symbolic in the sense that certain symbols, such as banknotes, rather than just concrete actions, can trigger further actions. They are generalized in that they claim general validity beyond any single particular interaction. They serve on the one hand to connect problem-specific actions, thus enabling the reproduction of social subsystems, and on the other hand, to enable a subsystem to serve one another. Thus, money allows both a separate economic sphere of circulation to be organized and system-transcending services. Luhmann abstracted and expanded this concept of media. On the other hand, he sees symbolically generalized communication media, not just interaction media. We need to be coupled are not merely actions, but communications, that is, signals that are interpreted by third parties as intentional actions or observations. On the other hand, Luhmann extends and systemizes the list of media. Aside from money and power, he takes law, truth, love, beauty, and faith to be media. This is not even a comprehensive list. In fact, a definitive list cannot be made, for it would be impossible to foresee or logically determine what communication media or cognitive codes will prevail in the future. Nobody can rule out, for instance, when in time we may again develop forms of communication that focus on honor or pure sexuality. What would matter would be not only that the recipients of the communication, but also the broadcasters could deploy clearly established binary schemes to convey, for instance, the signal, I am only interested in sex. It would be nice if you want to engage with me precisely for this reason. While the addressee could freely refuse to offer without rejection the idea of the offer as such. To the extent that such a form of communication evolves, sexuality will become just another social subsystem, being neither part of a romantic love nor a commodity to be purchased. Communication media thus predate and enable differentiation rather than being added to a pre-existing functional system in order to improve their operations. I have no idea what the fuck I just read. The only thing I understood was that it just said, hey, I like you. I don't want to date you. I just want to fuck. Would you want to fuck? What the fuck? What kind of fucking shit did I just read? Okay, if you guys like me reading this crap out loud, let me know, because like I usually plan this, like last couple 3 weeks I've planned to stream on reading a chapter out loud, and this is the last chapter of that book. So if anything, I might buy. I do actually have a book that I haven't started reading yet. It's called A Christmas Miracle. I could start reading that on stream and just maybe read like a chapter a day or so, a week, until we finish that book. Or if anything, I could read I do have a Divergent book here. I could read that. But at least the books I'm going to choose to read, I might just go to Barnes & Noble and buy like a book series and start reading fantasy books out loud on here. So maybe that might be more interesting and more fulfilling than reading this fucking educational book. Not to say there's nothing wrong with it, just that this is for that book club and M's community that's been going on for a bit. Alright, in this way, Luhmann's media theory captures how, or at least in the case of economy, money precedes the development of markets and thus spread of distinctly economic logic. At the same time, due to its abstraction of the concept of media to the point that it signifies a mere means of communication, it fails to recognize the distinction feature of money that set it apart from the other communication media. For Luhmann, media are symbolically generalized not because they require unequivocally identifiable symbols such as banknotes, but because they link actors or in fact communications instead of separating them diabolically. The special achievement is to make it likelier that a particular communication that is a particular interpretation of a given social situation will be accepted or shared by others. They help to persuade others to see things as we see them. Communication media are interpretive standards that have seductive power. They can be rejected, but they want to be accepted. Power is ego's effort to make Alter dance to his tune, to which Alter submits out of fear of being punished by ego. Truth is an observation or statement by ego, which Alter affirms because ego is aware that others would also agree. Love means ego adapts his actions to Alter's desire because fulfilling them, or even precisely bringing Alter's pleasure, brings ego joy. Money, too, is an offer of communication, a signal of the desire to acquire something to motivate another person to voluntarily but not selflessly hand over something or perform a task. Ego pulls out his wallet and Alter knows immediately what is happening. Communication has taken place. Alter does not need to sell ego the object ego desires, but Alter is not likely to reject the offer for in return. Alter will obtain general purchasing power. The fuck? Alright, 6 more pages. 6 more pages of pain. We can get through this together. I think Rain's asleep. Icky's probably still streaming. Random's probably here listening. Rai-Rai's lurking and twerking. I think Jenny's lurking and twerking, and Luna's probably lurking and twerking. But yeah, 6 more pages, everyone. 6 more pages. Spartan, if you're still listening, I thank you for listening. Alright, let's finish these 6 pages out strong. Yet, in spite of any communication theoretical similarities between these cases, there are 2 extraordinarily important differences between the media in question. First, money, unlike power, truth, or love, is actually transferred. It changes hands. One can even must acquire it. What one person has, another one no longer does. Power, truth, and love, on the other hand, are relational. One cannot own truth or love. Even power is not something one could carry around in one's pocket. It only realizes itself in a relationship between at least 2 actors. Second of all, relationship between 2 actors. Second, all media, including money, contribute to the reduction of complexity. As they simplify, or rather standardize, what could in principle be ever diverse and rarely harmonious ways in which actors relate to one another. Media make what would, in principle, be unlikely acts of communication more likely. On the other hand, unlike power, love and truth, which restrict the freedom of others, one must do what the holder of power demands. A lover may demand a particular person. Truth makes us see what others see, rather than letting our own imagination wander. Money not only leaves the freedom of the payer intact, but even increases it. Whoever has money can do more. They can essentially do anything. In other words, money is more fungible than the other media. One can always use it, and therefore is always in need of it. It uses it its use has comparatively few preconditions. Apart from having to learn to think in terms of a money of account and be familiar with how to use a particular currency and money proper, this is why money beats all other media. And it is why the system that produces regenerates it has primacy over all others. Beyond the fact that all systems need to be funded and that money as a medium has this extraordinary level of generality, the third argument for the economy's dominance is the growth imperative, which radiates outward onto the rest of society. Ah, fuck. Of course, other subsystems also have a logic of innate tendency towards expansion. For instance, in the legal system, the codification into law of previously extra-legal matters does not more than merely create clarity where previously there was ambiguity. It also, and at the same time, creates new occasions to apply the legal process for resolving disputes, which again activates the legal system. Nor is scientific progress that mere resolution of a finite set of open questions. On the contrary, new insight always lead, whether deliberately or accidentally, to new questions that were previously unasked and perhaps not even imaginable. The legal system increases demand for jurisprudence by distinguishing legality from illegality, justice from injustice. Knowledge and truth are not simply replaced with better knowledge or new truths. On the contrary, new forms of knowledge arise alongside the old ones. The existing truth becomes more complicated. In this sense, the process of knowledge generation is structurally infinite. In this respect, the perception of a continual juridification of society or scientization of life is as correct as the diagnosis of an ongoing economization of the social. However, while the monetary economy is predestined to grow in the material dimensional, the shape of its growth induces a permanent reconsideration and adjustment of habits in the social dimension. The law, too, may affect even more things, but the economy lays hold even of nature. The sciences too can shatter certainties, but their new discoveries only affect people's worldview in exceptional cases. The economy, by contrast, makes accepting change and adjusting to it an everyday fact of life. But why does the economy need to grow, and where does its potential for revolutionizing society come from? At least two structural reasons for the growth imperatives are worth discussing: competition and interest. Competition is by no means a form of behavior created by the markets of the monetary economy, but they contribute significantly to its spread. Formally, competition, in contrast to direct combat between opponents, for instance, a struggle to physically subjugate one adversary or take something from him, is an act of striving for a goal set by a third party in a non-violent and rule-conforming way. The goal may be to win a prize, break a record, better one's previous score, defeat an opposing team, or curry favor with an anonymous consumer public with material desires in need of fulfillment. It is obvious that the competition mechanism has expanded its reach and generality through the marketization of the economy. As the supply of populations with goods and even the reproduction of society becomes dependent upon the market, producers and traders had to adjust not just their pricing but also what they produce and offer in the first place in the light of the other preferences and capacities of their customers. Such is the civilizing potential of a market or monetary economy, but it also makes money increasingly a prerequisite for participation in economic and eventually social life. Having money is the entry requirement into the market, and to the extent that even the non-economic subsystems may often only be accessible by means of money, it becomes the key medium of inclusion within functionally differentiated societies. Ah, fuck. I lost the page I was on. But upstream, as to speak, prior to the ownership of money, is the acquisition. I think that's the page. The capacity to pay constantly needs to be reproduced. For most people, this means performing wage labor. But it is not enough for them to simply offer up their labor power. Rather, providers of wage labor need to possess and supply exactly those qualities that the market demands. They too compete to satisfy the needs of customers, in this case employers. And unless they can or want to offer their ware for less than their competitors in the labor market do, they need to be better than them. Because of the threat of price declines or the loss of desirability of one's labor power constantly looms, people must seek new opportunities to increase its value, to earn as much as possible, but not just in order to fulfill previously unfulfilled desires, but also to make provisions for an uncertain future. Paradoxically, it is precisely their worries about economic social decline that drive individuals to outcompete one another. Like entrepreneurs in a business, they invest in themselves, or ought to practically rather than normatively speaking, not only or not primarily in order to earn more, but rather to keep up with their competitors, for the competition never sleeps. 3 more pages. 3 more fucking pages. 1, 2, 3. The market is not a zero-sum game in which one has to lose with another gains, but a positive-sum game in which total utility grows. A game from which, at least if the starting capital is reasonably evenly distributed, the majority of players may be expected to benefit. But that does not mean that everyone benefits, let alone that they benefit to a similar extent. The game only works because it also produces losers. Or more precisely, because it produces losers, it forces players to remain on their toes and seek ever new opportunities to pass the test. One driver behind the invention of an endless array of new products, the improvement and cheapening of existing ones, the expansion of supply, and the sheer innovativeness of capitalism and the ubiquity of competition in a market which brings an incentive and compulsion to insure oneself against the ever-present peril of one day finding oneself without money. Okay. A second reason for the growth imperative, which does not cause competition as such with certainty, intensifies it, is interest. Interest is a surcharge added to the nominal value of a sum of money that is lent within or created by a credit relationship. In return for conferring the practical use of value of money, anyone borrowing a sum of money from a bank for whatever consumption, investment, or need-driven reason promises to repay the money plus interest. If a debtor has no continual cash flow to facilitate the repayment of the loan and interest, he must either use the loan in such a way as to make investment pay off for his creditor as well, or actually first and foremost. Otherwise, if he is spending rather than investing the loan money, the debtor must work so as to not only cover his own living expense but also refinance his deficit. Interest thus necessitates additional labor, or rather, because working hours can only be extended up to a certain point and overtime work is often not in demand, it necessitates productivity increases and innovation. The same principle applies to credit finance, or indeed inasmuch as well as money originates from credit relationships. All investments, if the additional amount for the contracted interest payment is not to be financed from the further growth of the total loan amount, that is, if asset inflation is to be avoided, then the amount of money in circulation at any given time will always exceed the total value of goods and services. It will have to be covered by the production and successful sale of new goods after the fact. It is thus ultimately human labor, or generally human creativity alone, that can redeem promises to pay interest. The constant systematic search for ever new ways to transform labor, especially intellectual labor, into new commodities by no means stems only from an innate human urge to explore and innovate, but also from a specifically economic or more precisely monetary compulsion. Where there is interest, there must be growth. The alternative is economic, or rather monetary crisis, in which the contraction of loans triggers real economic stagnation. To renounce interest altogether is by contrast a compelling idea which has been propounded by free money and natural economic order theorists. However, what they fail to recognize is that interest is not a tariff imposed by wicked capitalists to forcibly extract value from honest market participants, but an expression of money's innate ability as the most liquid asset to command as its own premium. The enormous productivity and innovative power of the modern monetary economy, as well as its susceptibility to crisis, is not simply a reflection of the superiority of the market over alternative forms of economic governance, but also, if not primarily, the result of the growth imperatives brought into the world and imposed by interest. Indeed, inasmuch. Fuck, I lost the page. Last page too. Indeed, inasmuch as any developed market owes its existence to the prior, or at least external, invention of money as a medium, and since it's acquire it, one must generate a surplus. The market reflects less the desire of actors to engage in mutually advantageous exchange and more their efforts to undo their previously acquired debts. The price we pay for this dynamic, that is, for the primacy of money and the economy in our functionally differentiated society, is the continual drawdown and unusually irreversible transformation of the natural basis of our existence, as well as the compulsion to accept the subsuming of the non-monetarily coded aspects of our lives to the economy's logic of valuation and exploitation. Paradoxically, this even extends to the aspects of our lives that we were only made possible by money in the first place. Both the problems linked to the environmental destruction and the economization of social code ultimately lead to the self-destruction, or at least the de-differentiation of society as we know it. Yet knowing what we know about the vast potential for innovation of monetary economies have, which we will have to rely on to solve or at least delay the need for a solution to these problems, it would all be ill-advised to aim to abolish rather than further differentiate the monetary system. And even if we did, we could hardly deter hundreds of millions of people living in Asia and Africa for whom the capitalist way of life appears desirable from entering and bringing new lifeblood to the system. The enormous ecological and social consequences will have to be managed. And that's the end of chapter 5. And then there's the fucking references guide for this book, which is about 20 damn pages long. But that is the last chapter of Money Society. So thank you guys for whoever was listening. And I did stutter a lot while I was reading this, not gonna lie. The last page and a half of this chapter is just like the index, I guess, words and shit. But this book is basically a college level read book. Yes, the book is done. So now I gave you guys a choice. I can show you guys an awesome cutscene start on Final Fantasy VIII, starting from where I go invade and liberate a town, or I could jump into Skate for a little bit, or I did download this game. It's called Mad Tycoon Video Game Creator. I could stream that for like the next hour or so. I do have Cities Skylines finally updated, or we could jump into Final Fantasy VII and I could do the opening sequence of the game for you guys. You know, it's just like, let me know what you guys want me to do right now. But that's the end of chapter. That's the end of chapter 5. Hey Sparn, thanks for like thanks for sitting in here and listening to it. Like, I know it means a lot when I got people actually here, you know, lurking and stuff. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to work tomorrow. It's my first day in charge, and it's like, I'm not even like my first day in charge. I'm already getting freaking call-outs, and it's like shit I can't control, so it's kind of bullshit, but you know, it happens. Yeah, tomorrow I'll be streaming at 11:30 p.m. again. I'm probably going to be streaming, what's tomorrow, Tuesday? So tomorrow I might be streaming, I do want to get back into Revenant Dogma. I do want to finish that playthrough. Then I do have Ys Origin. I do want to play that. And what's the other games I did download? I did download the French We Are the Revolution. So we might check that out tomorrow, or we might check that out Wednesday. But yeah, so now that we finished Money Society, let's take my sexy self and let's go liberate Dalit real quick, and then we'll jump into Skater XL for a little bit. I mean, I could have done the read here at the school. In fact, let me show you guys what the other option was. Instead of reading from the Balaam Hotel, I could have read it from the school, and I could have read it from the fucking school library or from the dormitory. But 8's not the greatest of the Final Fantasy series, but visually speaking wise, this is probably one of my favorite Final Fantasies. Like, I have yet to do any cosplays, but if I was to cosplay, I would cosplay as Squall Leonhart here, aka Leon from fucking Kingdom Hearts. Like, I do like, I don't know why, but I got into wearing a bunch of harness boots lately. So I do own a pair of Doc Martens that have harness boots. I did see on his website that there are some pants that have like the buckle design, like this fucker's wearing. But the thing is, it's like, I'm not that skinny anymore to wear those fucking pants. And this bitch here is in level White Tyson. But yeah, I could have read the book here in this part of the. I should have read it here, but at the same time I was pretty lazy and I didn't feel like it. So there's that. But yeah, shout out to X Tamasama for lurking. She's an awesome streamer. I think the other day she was wearing a hot dog while she streams. And if you guys want to know what she looks like this. Love you, Jenny. Fucking take this motherfucker from this asshole. Come here, you fucking little fuck. Give me the mini mall card. Alright, that's the card we want. We want the fucking mini mog one. We want that cat thing right there. Give me your cat thing, you fucking little fuck. Ah, this motherfucker. Little kid. Fuck this guy. Alright, let's go jump into a... Let's jump into a different game now. This game's called Mad Games Tycoon, or Mad Tycoon Games Designer or some bullshit. So let me just update my stream title real quick. And basically now we're alright, so what are our game options here? Fuck it, let's just go jump right into it. What? Choose company, random company name. Okay. Player name. Let's go with a classic name here. Company name. Oh fuck. Let's call ourselves something ridiculous like I don't know. Ex-Tawasawa's crackheads. That's what I hate about Xbox. Yeah, we're just gonna call ourselves Jenny's Crackheads. Ink. You gotta do ink or else it doesn't count. Okay. Ah, wouldn't let me put the name. That's bullshit. Fine, we'll just call ourselves fucking Crackhead Incorporated. They can't even do that! But they allow dick butt. Man, I'm fucking trying to put a stupid name on here and won't even let me do it. Fucking. Oh, wait. No, we can't do that. No. Let's just do something not TOS. Why not? Huh. Okay. So we can do the teddy bear or the bear paw. And when I think of teddy bear, I just signify that with therapy. So my is going to be the bear right here. Male. What? Special feature. I need a special feature. And I lost like 2 more viewers because I started playing this game. But it is late, so... Alright, so we're specialized in RPG. Alright, it happens, yeah. So we'll just do this on easy, and we'll start from the 80s, and we'll just work our way up. My fucking game crashed. Yeah, random, it happens. Some bullshit. The fucking game crashed on me. It's fucking infuriating. Oh, okay, so fuck this game. I have a better idea. We're gonna go to Minecraft. So I'm supposed to be me and Spartan on Minecraft. This Thursday, Spartan is supposed to do a we're supposed to do a podcast style interview stream together, and we're gonna be interviewing Rainstorming. So I I want to. Spartan doesn't have Minecraft, but I do. So we're most likely to do this on my stream, this interview. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up a kind of a trippy ass room, and we're gonna design this room if I could get Minecraft to load up. So it's gonna be on a private world, say more or less. And I almost forgot that's what I was going for. Oh shit, they brought in the cave updates. I forgot about that. Yeah, now I'm supposed to hop onto the Waffleverse eventually. But before I need my character to be I fucking forgot. Ugh. Alright. So there we go. Now we're gonna have to create a world. We'll do on the stupid snowstorm one with this world template. And if that doesn't work, we'll just fucking... I don't fucking know. You know what? We'll just create a new world. We'll call this world the podcast world. And eventually we'll just expand the world a bit. This is all gonna be on vanilla, but I'm gonna turn on creative for myself. Put it on peaceful. I don't want to do mobs. And we'll do... What the fuck? Put it on creative. Continue. We'll turn off TNT. We're gonna turn off fire spread. And then and yeah. So let's get this podcast world set up, and then we'll go ahead and yeah, we'll get this bitch set up, and I think Rain has Minecraft on the Xbox, is what she said. So, let's see here. So, when she joins, I'm gonna make a building here. But until then, go ahead and get this fucking weird ass room made. We need like a flat surface area for this. Oh wow, the creative menu. What is it? Is it snow? I think I need snow blocks to do this. It's been a while since I've done shit like this. So bear with me. I am not familiar with doing this shit at all. Fuck. I don't need smooth stone. I just need actual fucking stone. You know what? No. Fucking piece of shit, dude. Oh, there it is. Okay, so. It's been a while since I've done this bitch, but if I remember correctly, I think it's 14 by 14. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Fucking hell. I'm doing this shit on a controller too, so it's like it should be natural to just be to move this fast and just be like boom, 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 place all these fucking blocks. But at the same time, I don't have that fucking lovely option here. So stupid too that it's not letting me fucking do this shit any faster than I need to. So I gotta fill this bitch up with snow. And it's like, what? if you know what I'm trying to do, you have an idea. I gotta make a flat surface enough to cover a fucking map. And then from that flat surface is where I'm gonna make a, And the thing is, like, I don't even have enough on here to fucking fill this map to make it fucking white. Like, fuck me, man. Alright, these are the two maps that we have. We have empty map look. I think it's the locator map. Okay, so the locator map is a lot better. Locator map, I just area that I use flat. Edges of it and then figure out how much I gotta fill in. I'd rather just make sure that this whole thing is white, fill the locator map, and just go from there. Told me to focus on this little project I had in mind going for. And paste this commands right now and I could just fucking piece of shit. Yeah, it's cutting it in. What the fuck's going on? Game updating in the. Alright, so I just paused all those games updating right now for the sake of the stream. So hopefully that might make it somewhat better for you guys. Like I said, I gotta switch the fucking internet to be like I need to switch the Wi-Fi to be I gotta switch my Wi-Fi to be AT&T instead of Spectrum. No, it's be Spectrum instead of AT&T. My bad. Alright, I'm glad that's much better. But it's not better for me because that's how fucking much I gotta fill in on this fucking map to make sure it's a fucking giant cum stain. Fucking hell. Thing is, I can't even go back in a straight line either. Because shit like that happens. Fucking hell. So we gotta fill in this whole fucking space with snow to do what I want to do. Alright, everyone. This is gonna take like an hour's worth of fucking progress, so let's get to it. Alright, so the trick when doing shit like this is you want to divide it up into sections. Smaller sections make it much easier, makes you feel smaller surface area shows much more efficient progress than doing it all in one, like one big huge queue. Feel like you accomplish more. So if I divide this up into like divide this up into like 6 separate sections, eventually it's gonna this is gonna take less time than going all at it in one go. See here, if I do it like this, divide this up into 6 sections, and just move from there, it's gonna feel like this project's not gonna take as long. If only my fucking thing would stay in the right spots. And it would fucking actually place the block. Fuck, instead of skipping a spot. Okay. So let's go ahead and fill in this queue section. Fucking hell. The stream's gonna be me saying fucking hell a lot because it's pissing me off that this block placements is not fucking going exactly how I wanted to go. Some bullshit, I swear. Fucking piece of shit, just place it where I wanted to go. So then we have to fly back and forth and breaking fucking blocks. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, fucking place the damn block where I want you to place it. Fuck's sakes.